Good morning, everyone. My name is Jennifer Clark. I'm the Operations Coordinator for the New York State Coalition Against Domestic Violence. My pronouns are she, her, they, them. And I'd like to be the first to welcome you to today's webinar, the final in our Survivor Financial Empowerment Training Series with Project Coordinator Naseem Sarabandi. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items for interacting with today's webinar. All lines will be muted, so we will be taking questions through the chat box as well as the question and answer module of the Zoom platform. We will have time at the end to get to any questions. We do today have both live captioning as well as ASL interpreters throughout today's webinar. And we are recording today's session, and a link to the recording as well as the materials will be provided to you in a follow-up email. There is also a link to the materials in the chat box and was a link included in the reminder email you should have received in advance of today's webinar. And with that, I will hand it over to Naseem Sarabandi to begin.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing very well. We're getting close to spring. It's a good weather, good timing. Today we are going to have our last webinar from the Allstate Foundation Moving Ahead Curriculum training series. You might have been with us in the last 3 webinars in the last Thursdays. If you have not, you can reach out to my colleague, Jennifer Clark, and receive the recording and also all the materials for the trainings that we provided. Today, we are going to cover Module 4 and 5. There is going to be a lot of information because we combine 2 modules, you will have access to the PowerPoint and you will have access to the recording, so you can follow up. You can check all the links and resources too. Economic Empowerment Project of the New York State Coalition Against Domestic Violence started its work in 2019 with a grant from Allstate Foundation and technical assistance and training from National Network to End Domestic Violence Economic Justice Project. We do have a RFP process in summer. Usually it's a competitive grant application process. And we usually choose 3 sub-grantees for a grant cycle year. And these programs are expected to focus on financial planning, credits, employment, and match saving. And part of this project that they are working on, and as well as the coalition are going to work on, it's covering the curriculum and providing training and technical assistance on this curriculum. The Allstate Foundation Moving Ahead Curriculum has 5 modules. As I mentioned, we did go through first, second, and third modules. Today, we are going to cover 4th modules, which is the financial paperwork, housing options, mortgages, and automobile loans. And the 5th module, which is about long-term planning, education, saving, and investment and retirement and insurance. These are the list of topics that we are going to cover today. It helps you later on to find out what kind of information are included in each modules. Also, there is going to be some information, some legal information for advocates and survivors in New York State. I am not a lawyer or attorney, and the information that we are gathering here are general information. If you need any legal assistance or help, you can reach out to us. We do our referral. There are programs across the New York State that they provide this kind of information or any consultancy on legal procedures pro bono for the domestic violence survivors. So before we start the content of the webinar, I want to ask you a question. We prepared a poll for you with some questions for you. I would appreciate it if you can provide answers to those so we can gauge a little bit about your level of information and comfortability around loans. So the two questions that we prepared is asking you, have you ever applied for a loan? It's a yes or no question, so you can provide that in the box. And the second question is asking you on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being very comfortable and 5 being very uncomfortable, how comfortable are you with the loan application process? These questions are just like for us to know like how much you know about a loan process. I would appreciate it if you can provide and tick any box into the poll so we'll get the results. Thank you, everyone. So we are going to see the results. So a lot of you, over 80%, have applied for loans, which is expected. And about 38%, you feel somehow comfortable around the loan application process. And I can say a lot of you actually provided that in a 4 or 5 that you are not comfortable. So hopefully the information here will help you in this module to get more clue around like how loans work, car loans or house mortgages. About organizing your financial paperwork. I actually covered a little bit this topic in our first module. And we provided also activity for you about the for you and survivors about the list of documents that they need to have if you are living an abusive relationship or if you are living with their abusive partner anyway. But being organized in your financial paperwork, it will really help you in the process of a loan application or any financial work that you want to do, even renting an apartment, buying a car. And these are the list of all the financial records. So definitely you need your bank statement, you need your, if you have an investment certificate of deposit records, you need your loan agreement, documentation for public assistance or retirement accounts. You need your legal documents, such as if you have your order of protection or divorce papers, property documents, which can be your car title, mortgage agreement, and a lot of documents related to your property and possessions, and health records. Definitely your medical, dental insurance, and also your expense documents, your household bills and accounts that you have paid, your education records. And even if you don't have access to all of this, it's a good time to start to make a list of them and try to find a way to gather all this information in one place. You can also use your phone nowadays to scan and get a backup all this information in one place. I know we say like, oh, paperwork, it's we keep the originals, but God forbid something happens, you definitely want to have a backup and put it in your computer or your phone. Um, Even if you don't have the all these documents, even having the account numbers, your phone numbers for your bank or credit union or credit card will really help you when you need all this information. So any loans that you are applying for, if you are paying them on time and on a plan, it really helps you to get a good credit. It increases your credit score and improves your credit history. So that's why before applying for any kind of loan, you need to make a solid plan about how you are repaying the loan. We have two type of loans, unsecured and secured. The unsecured loans are the ones that they don't have any collateral, which is your credit cards, it's your personal and student loans, it's your IOUs, which is like I owe you money. It's a signed agreement between your friends and family, and they don't have any collateral. That's why they have a very high interest rate. But the secured loans that they have a collateral, like your car, your home, and these are having a little bit less interest rate. For instance, you can buy a car on 3.5 interest rate, while your credit card carries 9 to 10% interest rate. So because the credit card has a higher risk for the lenders and creditors. A little bit amount car loans. The main difference between the loans for a new and used car is that the a new car usually have a lower rate, but to get that lower rate, you need a good credit. So always we are getting back to the topic of good credit. You need definitely to shop around and find a loan that really works best for you. So if you went to one dealership and they gave you a rate on interest rate and a monthly payment, just pause there. Okay, I'm going to another dealership. I'm gonna see what they are gonna offer me. Definitely do that, because dealership have different promotion and deals, and I can help you to bring down your interest rate that you're paying on the car. um, I have to say, as a general rule, loans with a shorter term are better. So if you get a loan that is like 36 months, it's much better than 60 or 70 months. And you also have to read the agreements and consider any prepayment penalties. Some loans ask you to be on the loan for like 65 months, and then sometimes you can actually repay your loan earlier. But is there going to be any penalty if you do that? Um, and you also need to know the difference between terms and interest. Terms is the length of time that you are paying a loan, but interest is actually the money that accumulates for the lenders on the loan that you're taking. And there is a difference in the car between financing and leasing. Financing is a situation that you pay the loan, and at the end of the loan, at the end of the terms, the car is for you. But leasing is when you start like paying for 3 years, and then you have to return the car to dealership. That's why you have to be very careful about any cases of accident or damages on a lease car. I would refer you to go to the website. I don't think I put it here. Edmonds, EDMONDS.com, to calculate a car loan that you can actually afford. And it's something that suits you. This is an example of an automobile loan. This person took a 15,000 car loan, and the terms could be different. They could be 36 months, 48, 60, or 72 months. As you can see, the interest raises on each of these terms. So the 72 months has the higher interest here, and it brings down the monthly payment for the person. They pay like $232 or 30, almost $33 a month. But at the end, they actually pay higher interest in total. So they pay like 1,769. But if they were taking this loan for 36 months, for that 15,000, the interest money that you're paying in total would be 761. So that's like an example that shows you clearly how interest and terms work. Just getting a sip of water. um, So, when a survivor of domestic violence leaves an abusive relationship or going to a shelter, eventually they need to make a plan after that. They either need temporary housing for a year or two to find a rental property or buy a house or like find another solution. So we are very familiar as advocate with transitional housing. I know that some of you are programmed, some of the advocates here, they provide that for the survivors and they provide rent subsidized. They are usually 2-year terms, but they're temporary. So survivor need to actually find a solution, after 2 years. There's also rental property. But rental property comes always with a caveat because you have to have income. And this rent that you are paying shouldn't be more than 25 to 30% of your income. That's the best case scenario because you have other expenses. And when you're actually contracting for a rental property, you also need to consider other expenses like internet, gas, electricity, parking. So these are all the more expenses that comes with a rental property, and a person really needs to review their income and to see if they can actually afford that. We are all familiar also with Section 8 housing. We know that there is a very long wait, 4 to 5 years. It's a very good option if a survivor can get their name on, and it's a very affordable. It's a program that can make a private owned rentals affordable to low income households, and the amount of rental assistance you qualify for is usually calculated by dividing your annual gross income by 12, which is 12 months, and then they multiply that by 30%. So that's how the formula work on how much as so that you can get on the Section 8 housing. And then the other thing is the last one is home ownership that I will go in a very long depths in it later in the slides. We probably have heard of the lease bifurcation. It's a situation that you remove the name or your partner's name from the lease. It really varies based on the state. I would definitely want you, if you're looking into that, to talk to an attorney about that, or some of you as advocate probably have really good amount of information. It's really based on good cause, such as domestic violence or sexual assault. And many lease bifurcation requires landlords to allow one property to be released or removed from a joint lease. I want to also say that there is, you probably are familiar with it, but there is also victim compensation fine that exists for the survivors. They need to apply for it, but usually it needs also a law enforcement cooperation or police report. And that's an option when a damage happens to a property or a property that survivor lives there due to domestic violence or violence. Here I provided, based on the curriculum, a list of tenant rights and responsibilities. When we're contracting a space or renting a space, we have some rights and we have some responsibilities. So definitely, plumbing and heating and electrical situation in a house should be in working order. And the house should have working locks. It should have fire and emergency exits. These are the most important ones. It should also have freedom from infestation of insects or rodents. The stairways railing should be working, and there should be good lighting and also a smoke detectors, which is very important. But you as a tenant have also responsibilities. You need to pay the rent on time, and the apartment should be clean, efficient use of the gas and plumbing and electrical, also fixing any damage to the house, not engaging in illegal activities. And I'm saying this because these are all like we all probably know about it, but a lot of us don't read the contract. So these are all usually in a contract between the landlord and tenants about responsibilities and rights. What are the housing eviction process? What is the legal procedure that can happen in a housing eviction? And I'm mentioning this here because we've heard of the stories that some landlords change the locks, or like they make very uncomfortable situation for some tenants or for some survivors when they are living in a property. And this is all illegal. It will have consequences for the landlords. And but we as an advocate, it's good to have general information on what is illegal and what is legal. So in the first course of action, tenants, if they don't pay the rent, they will get a notice from landlord. That's a legal procedure, and usually the notice says that they are required to pay their rent, or vacate in 3 days. So it should be a written notice before filing a lawsuit. And this written notice is important because landlord can't go just to court and file a lawsuit without doing that. If you are receiving one of those notices and you think your payment is not due, you definitely, and it's a mistake, you definitely need to talk to a landlord or an attorney about this. And if you pay the rent, you definitely need to get a receipt. Whatever way you are paying, checking or everything with checks, you definitely need to have a receipt for every payment of rental property that you are having. The next course of action is notice from the court. So if you don't pay the rent that is like being asked from you, you can receive a petition for eviction and a summons or notice to appear in the court. Um, the fact is that being sued for eviction can have legal consequences beyond the court case, so it can stay with you. You need to definitely talk to a lawyer if you get a notice from a court about your next action and what to do. And if you do not show up in the court, a judgment of eviction and a warrant for possession of the rental unit will probably be issued against you. And in the third course of action, you will receive a notice from sheriff or a law enforcement. That's when the landlord, they win the lawsuit against you and they get a judgment and they come and to vacate. They have an order to vacate and they have also possession. They can possess the unit. Um, and definitely you need to comply with the order. But if you believe that there is a mistake here or a mistake for eviction, you need to talk to a lawyer. One thing that I want to mention here, even if you cannot find a lawyer, it's good to always show up in the court. You can go yourself to see if you can file for an order to show or any other legal papers. This way, you would show the judge that you're actually there, and you'll talk to a judge to set aside the warrant of eviction and give you some time to pay the rent. that's why going to a court is important. And even like finding somebody to talk to as a consultant, and then like going, even if you cannot pay the lawyer, it's better than not doing it. Um, New York State survivors of domestic violence have, besides the federal rights that they have based on the federal laws, they have rights in New York State based on New York State law. So, New York State law actually allows you to break your lease if you have an order of protection. This law may make it easier for you to actually escape a situation that you are scared of your safety. And even if you take the when you take the proper steps, this will prevent you from landlord that coming after you for the rent as a remainder of the lease. Um, you first need to ask your landlord for permission to break the lease and to have a consent with them. And if the landlord does not consent and doesn't want to do that, you can go to the court that issued your order of protection, and they can issue an order to break the lease if you paid your rent up to the due date. So this is the option that all the survivors have. Also, New York state law prohibit any housing discrimination based on your status as a DV survivors or situation like that. But I want to also mention here that disclosing abuse is something that survivors have the right to do or not to do. This is on their choice, and they definitely don't need to be like upfront about this. And but we know that sometimes like the violence happens and things will come up, so definitely give the choice to survivors to decide about it. New York state also has the law that establishes the right of tenants to call the police or 911 without fear of losing their housing and or consequences. If you need more information on that, definitely you can reach out to us or my colleagues at our policy team about any of this information, and we can also do a referral. What about home ownership? Well, as I mentioned, home ownership, it's actually not that easy. It takes a little bit of time, and it needs different steps to be checking and factors to be considered. Definitely, you need to ask your budget how much you can have for affording a house. How is your credit history or credit score? Are you steadily employed and have a stable income? Can you afford a down payment and closing costs? Um, the fact is that a lot of the lenders require a down payment. You have to have the down payment, but this can be between 3 to 25% of the whole payment for the house. For many first-time buyer, this number is usually like 5% down payment. But I want to actually give you a rule of thumb about like how much you can afford on housing. So a lot of people can comfortably repay a mortgage that is 2.5 times their total annual income before deductions. So if you make 30,000 a year, and you can be qualified for 75,000 mortgage. This is just the example. If you can find a house for 75,000, I would be like really shocked because houses are not that cheap. But you still, after that, you still need the down payment, closing costs, inspection costs, and a good credit history. Um, if you are a domestic violence survivors, you can research to find any programs that offer down payment or any closing cost assistance. The other process in the very important actually process in buying a house is getting pre-qualified by lender, which can be a bank. So you go into credit union and you want to take a loan or a mortgage on a house. Well, they don't give you the mortgage right there because They have to assess your credit history and your information, your income, your job situation, employment situation, and then they give you a letter, a pre-qualified letter, if you are in a good standing. And that pre-qualified letter makes you competitive in the market, or show that the sellers that how much you can actually afford, and how much the money that you can get from the bank. And this is even before applying for the mortgage. So this is just a letter to get pre-qualified. You can also look into the low and moderate income mortgage programs. They exist. You can Google any of them. One of them is Federal Housing Authority, and the second one is Rural Housing Guaranteed or Direct Loan Program. These are some help for the people who are actually in low or moderate income and they need help with the buying a house. Just getting a sip of water. So this table shows you different type of mortgages. A lot of people that we see or we talk to, they get fixed rate loan. Fixed rate loan can be 30, 20, 15, or 10 years. That means that your interest rate for the loan or mortgages stays the same through the course of through the term of the loan. So if you're taking 30 years loan, it's actually and your interest is like 3.5, that's gonna stay the same for whole 30 years. There is also adjustable rate mortgage loan that your interest rate can change. It can eventually go higher than the fixed rate loan. So you need to think about like what is the best option for you. Is this something that works for you better, or the first one works for you better? There is also subprime loans, but this one actually might contain like a prepayment penalty. And it happens in a situation that you want to buy a house, but you're not qualified for the lowest rate and the best term, so you can afford paying more for the loan. So you need to go through all these loans options and see which one really works for you. I want to also mention that even in the fixed rate loan for 30 years, your monthly payment might fluctuate a little bit every month. And this is due to an escrow account. Escrow account is actually extra money that the bank puts in an account to pay for taxes and insurances. Um, and the reason that bank does that, because they want to make sure that the property that you are buying is fully insured and the taxes are being paid on it. Definitely on a loan situation or contract, be very careful, read all the documents. If you don't know something, just ask people, try to explain for you, or ask your lenders, try to explain the terms, because this is very important. You know, you are going to a binding contract for probably 15, 20, even more than that, 30 years. So you need to know everything. For the mortgage application, there is like some check-ins that the creditors do. They check your employment history. They look for at least 2 consecutive years of employment within the same industry. They check the credit history, as I mentioned before. I want to see how you manage your credit or your debts. They checked your outstanding liabilities. So besides the mortgage and things like that, any kind of loans you have, the lenders will check that out. And that shouldn't exceed more than 24%, 42% of your monthly earnings. And they also check any cash and assets you have, your checking account, your bank account, or saving. Everything comes into consideration when you are getting a mortgage. I also want to mention here that I'm not a real estater, and I'm not a person who knows a lot about the loans. I've bought a house, but like I want to say that there are some community education programs and workshops that usually they are for free, and you can take classes on the housing and mortgages and learn more about how mortgages work. Actually, there is also a lot of information also on the internet that you can get. So with that, we are going to the fifth module, which is about long-term planning. It's about saving strategies, investment, insurance, education, finances, and some New York State related resources. We also have a small question here for you on the poll set, so we can get information about you, how much you know about investment and investing or saving. I don't know if you're doing the poll here. I don't remember that. Sorry. So if you can, oh yeah, it's here. So the question is, on a scale of 1 to 5, how comfortable are you with investing money? 1 is very comfortable, 5 is very uncomfortable. Well, I'm getting a lot of good answers here. Um, So people as a loan like the loan question, people are mostly in the middle, 30%, and they're somehow comfortable, but there is like 18 and 22% that they're not at all comfortable. Thank you for the results and for your participation. I actually provided some more questions here, but I'm going to provide the content of the webinar. I want to make sure that we have enough time for a Q&A at the end too. So saving strategies. So after you are having a steady job, you need to plan for your retirement. This can be through a retirement plan or investment or saving somewhere. Um, you can consider a percentage of your income. This way, when your income increase, your retirement contribution will actually increases too. So if you make 25,000 per year, 2% would be $500 per year that you can save, which will be $40 each month that you need to put aside. Um, Around the saving strategies, I've mentioned this in the other webinars. You need to start today, start now and early. You need to be patient, because the more you put that money in saving, you will withdraw more money. And you need to let the compound interest to do its magic. I've provided previously example of a compound interest, but I'm going to do it here again for your reference. As you can see, there was this person that they put $480 as a deposit, and their balance in the first year of investment was $501. And this person, through the course of like 20 years, increased this $500 to $23,561 just by putting a $40 a month aside and saving $480 each year. But that's the magic of compound interest. The 8% was the interest rate, and they were able to save 13,961 just in over 20 years. As you can see, compound interest does its magic. You need to be disciplined. You need to be patient when you are investing. In terms of your retirement planning, if you are trying to find out how much I need to save for my retirement, usually the rule of thumb is this money should be 70% of your pre-retirement income. I also provided a calculator from Allstate website. I personally use that. So I think it's a really good reference that you can put all the information and it will tell you how much you need for retirement and how much you need to save monthly. And don't be afraid. It gave me a big number. I couldn't afford that. So I brought down my retirement actually saving to lower than that, which is okay. You know, it's okay to not save like $500 a month or 200 or 300. Even if you can do $50 or 20, that's good. You know, that's better than nothing. There are two types of retirement account. Um, um, sorry, not two types, many types. So, two types of individual retirement account, which we probably have heard of it, RIA. The Roth IRA is actually the best one, and the reason is in the traditional IRA, you invest the money, but you don't pay the tax. You pay the tax after you make the withdrawal. So in 20 years, so that tax actually might increase over the years. But in the Roth, you pay for the tax as you invest. So you invest the money, you pay the tax based on whatever is the tax of the day, and then the money it's what it is in your account, and then you withdraw that at the end. There is also pensions, which are very rare to find. Um, it's a guaranteed payment and benefits, and it's set by employers. As I mentioned, a lot of employers don't offer pensions because it's a really good amount of money. Some people actually were making really good amount of money in pensions, something equivalent to their income after retirement. And it's very expensive for the states and governments. There is also 401k, 403b, 401a. These are all possible with the contribution from your employer. So they put some percentage and you save too, so that gathers all together. And the tax on them is also deferred after you withdraw. These are different type of saving and investment options. You probably have heard of saving bonds. It's issued by the government and the interest accumulates without any tax. And it doubles when you actually sell the bonds. And it's a really good way of saving. It used to be traditionally a way of saving, but nowadays I don't know how much people do that. There's mutual funds. It's a collection of stocks from different companies in one investment. There is websites like Wealthfront that they do mutual funds, so you can check them out if you want to do investment. There is also a stock market. If you are a little bit a risky person, you can put a little bit of your money, your earnings every month into a stock, but you need to be careful that you might lose the money because the stock value actually falls, and it really depends on the market, it really depends on the politics and everything like that. And there is bonds. It's a situation that you give a loan to a company. It's a good way to invest and guarantees that your loan will be paid on a specific date with a set interest rate. What about estate planning? I know we are all young, we don't need to think about this, but you never know, estate planning and having a will, it's very important. Whatever you have, if you have a furniture, you have a house, car, any retirement account, saving account, you definitely need to have a will. And if you don't have a will, the laws of your estate will actually decide who will receive your money or your property. And if you don't designate a legal guardian for any dependents, a court will decide who will receive them. So you want to put this in the hands of government, or you just want to decide about it yourself. And you can also purchase a life insurance. Some workplaces have the life insurance. You can provide cash to your survivors or beneficiaries, and even if something happens. Also, power of attorney comes in a situation that you're old, you cannot communicate, and you're disabled, but you have stated your wish around your health care, how to be taken care of, and properly to some person, a qualified person, which is an attorney, and they can talk on your behalf. Um, these are different type of community programs for low income, that you can get, you can find some, cash or money that help you. Definitely take advantage of them. If you see a match saving accounts in your community, if you see IDAs, I want to just say that IDAs is a federally match saving program for buying a house, education, or send money to start a business. But sorry, seed money for starting a business. But um, I heard that from March 2020, no new federal funds are available to support IDAs, but this can change. It could be just because of pandemic, so this can really change. And I don't think the ideas are going to completely go away. There's also micro enterprise development programs. And as I mentioned, there is always financial literacy programs, information about how to buy a house in the communities, and take advantage of this. Um, in the last webinar, I also talked about federal and state and income tax credit. It's a tax refund for low income families. We provided a lot of information and resources on that. So you can refer to the recording and listen to that and check the resources to see if you are eligible and you can apply for it, especially because now it's tax season. There's also unemployment insurance that helps you when something happens, you get laid off or you want to change jobs. There is emergency assistance funds from community-based organizations that you can actually get some money or help with cash. So we have different type of insurance. Um, First and the most important one is health and medical insurance. I know some of us have health insurance from or dental insurance from our employer, but if you're working as a freelance or consultant or work in a cafe or something, you can still thank God you can still apply for Affordable Care Act or Obamacare. It provides it provides you know some free services. So something like preventive services are covered without any co-payment. These services can be women visits, it can be contraceptions, the pills, mammogram, breastfeeding supplies, and screening for HIV. Also, a screening and brief counseling for domestic violence. Affordable Care Act provides tax credits and cost sharing reduction. Sorry. So it's a good option. I know that some people have them. I used to have them before I was a consultant. And I think it's really good to have insurance. Whatever happens, even if you're young, you definitely need a medical insurance. Um, you also can have health savings account. They're very pricey. It allows you to pay out of pocket expenses tax free, and you can sign up with banks or insurance companies. But as I said, they're expensive, and some of the employers offer that. We all know about auto insurance. We definitely need a car insurance to register your car and have a plate number. And that's very important in case of any accident. There is home owner and rental insurance. If you are even renting a property, you have to get insurance. in case of anything gets damaged or destroyed. So the insurance can protect your furniture, it can protect your personal property. There is life insurance that I mentioned before, and it helps your family with a stable financial future. There is two type of life insurance. There is like whole and term. In the term, you can buy a term of life insurance for periods of 1 year or 30 years. But in the whole, you combine term with investments, so it builds cash value that you can borrow against. Um, Definitely, whole is better, but life insurances can be expensive. There is also disability insurance. It provides portion of income that is lost due to your disability because of illness or accident. So that's something, if something, God forbid, happens in your work and you become disabled, definitely it's something that will help you. So education, education, it really depends on the kind of job or career that you are choosing or you are doing right now. You might get on a job and you will see, okay, if I get this program certificate or if I get this training, it can really help me with development of my job. Or you can like go back to school, you get your college degree, get your community college degree, or like your masters, or anything that you probably need to help you develop your life or your income. These are all the forms of education opportunities that you can pursue based on your needs, whatever you want, and whatever that works for you. But the most important part of education is the finances, how you are going to afford it. So you probably need to get financial aid. Most of us need that, including any grants, scholarship, any rents, and any loans that can help you to afford your education. Financial aid comes usually from different resources. So it can come from Fed or government, federal government, state. It can come from the college. It can come from private organizations. And I want to say the student private loans are risky. They are usually more expensive than federal loans. While the federal loans, they don't have a requirement of credit check or co-signer, which is a really good thing. And they do not require repayments until you actually leaving the school and you are graduated. And they offer flexible repayment plans and different options. So feds are much more better. The good thing about grants and a scholarship is you usually don't have to do payment. On the loans, you have to do the payment, but on the grant and scholarship, you don't need to do that. Um, FAFSA, we all are familiar with it. It's a free application for federal student loan. Everybody should apply for that in whatever situation they are. They access the federal grant opportunities such as Pell Grants. There is loans in colleges and universities, and there's also U.S. Department of Labor. And you can go to the website that we provided here, careeronestop.org, and see if there is any loan that works for you. There is also Women's Independence Scholarship for domestic violence survivors and their children. Definitely check that out. And I want to also mention that you are probably familiar with New York State has the Excelsior a scholarship. That is a tuition-free education program for New York State residents that they earn less than 125,000 a year income. So you might be qualified for this one. It's for 2 or 4 years of college. These are different type of federal student loans. There is subsidized loans for students that they demonstrate financial need. There is unsubsidized loans. There is also PLUS loan that I provided some information about here. There is consolidation loans, which allows the borrowers to combine all eligible federal loans together. There is a Stafford loan and Perkins loan. So there is like different type of also in the federal loans, there's different type. At the end, about um, um, the loans or expenses you put on your education, I want to say there are some tax credit available, and there are mostly two higher education tax credits. It can really reduce the amount of your federal income tax. So first one is American Opportunity Credit, and if you can actually and you're qualified, definitely take advantage of the American Opportunity Credit. It provides a larger amount of credit, and you don't have to spend as much in order to get the credit. So it allows you to claim up to 4,000 in qualified education expenses. So it can be not only education expenses that you put, but even the loans that you are taking, which can result in up to 2,500 in tax credits per student per year for the first 4 years that are working towards a degree. So if you're a parent of a person who's going to college and having the financial expenses for education, you can claim the tax credit. There's also lifetime learning credit that reduces your federal tax liability up to $2,000 per student per year for the education expenses that are qualified. Um, Definitely look into that. If you need more information, you can reach out to us. We definitely need to do a referral. I know tax is much more complicated, and then like our level of knowledge, but we can like give you website or places to read more about this. And here is all the resources that I've mentioned. You can get a copy of the Allstate Foundation curriculum on the first link, and there's like information about housing, about how to pay for college, about the FAFSA. It's also a lot of information about different type of scholarship or grants that you need to search to apply for, information about job courses and training on LinkedIn. And with that, I just wanna thank you everyone for listening. I know I went through a lot of information. I want to thank the interpreters and my colleague Jennifer for coordinating all the chat box. I'm sure there's a lot of things going on in the chat box, and happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Naseem. So far, I have two questions, and both of them are related to home loans and grants. The first one is asking about what is the process for applying for a Fair Housing Administration loan program?
Yes. So I need to do research on that, and I need to send you more information. I haven't used this loan process. Definitely will do some information on the follow up for you. Sorry, I don't have the information readily here.
Okay, so, and the next one is about what is the process for applying for home grants or any of those programs that you've heard about or aware of?
What kind of home grants? Like, does that mean home mortgage or um, I just need more information about like what kind of grants. I don't think there's like grants for like there is either loans or there is like helping with the housing, with the closing costs or down payment. So if you are, for instance, if you are qualified and you're a first home buyer, you actually can pay and put so much less money, like 5% as a down payment, and that's an option.
And she's included some follow-up questions. I believe she's referring to a government home loan.
Like the fair housing? Yes, so I need to follow up on that. As I mentioned, I've never done fair housing. I'm happy to hear from everyone else on this webinar or my colleague, but I need to do some research on that and just provide more detailed information or resource for you. I'm actually writing this down.
So folks, we don't have any additional questions right now, but we'll keep the line open for a few more minutes, just in case any more come in.
There is a comment that have you heard of NACA? Apparently, it's for home buyers who typically would not be able to buy a home, otherwise buy a home. I've never heard of it. It's a good place to check, and apparently it calls neighborhood assistant. Very interesting. I'll definitely do some research on NACA. Thank you, Zoraya, for the referral, NACA. So we will probably definitely include that in our resources.
I do see a question coming in about mortgages, home mortgages, and permitting late payments without penalty due to the pandemic.
Permitted late payments without penalty due to the pandemic. I'm not sure about that. I have to check that out. I understand the questions. There might be some relief, but because the lenders are usually the banks, so I need to check that out.
There may also be some relief you could get around non-penalty options by calling your bank lender for your mortgage. Many of them have been reaching out to their mortgage holders just to check in and see how they're doing with a lot of those programs. I also own a home, so I've been receiving a lot of those outreach emails from my lender.
So there is apparently, Julia, there is apparently some help and assistance and relief from your banks. You just need to definitely contact your bank.
We'll make sure that there's some additional information on that in the follow-up email.
Oh, so somebody actually knows people that participated in NACO and they bought a house through that. And there's apparently process and program to do to be able to buy the house. As I said, there are definitely more resources in the communities. And I see it, and sometimes we heard of it, sometimes we haven't heard of it. I really appreciate all these insights. So Olga is asking that there is a survivor who owns a house, but the abuser is not on the mortgage, and he has not been contributed to the household expenses. Is there any type of help she can receive in this situation? If the person is not on the title and is not on the mortgage, they don't have any rights to the house. And the house is in the name of the survivor. I don't know if this person lives with the partner or abuser right now, and but definitely, if they are no longer paying or helping, they can get a remove that person from the house and get an order of protection and get an order from the court to remove them from the property. I'm getting another question about the tax from Amy. Amy, can you reach out to us to our email address, and because I probably didn't have your email. Oh, so Olga is saying that the person is not able to pay for the loan, for the mortgage of the house. And that's another scenario. The abuser doesn't actually live with the person. Olga, I want to actually say that you need to talk to a lawyer about this, or the person needs to find a resource, to help her to pay for the mortgage or the rent, and that might be an opportunity in the community for that. I don't know if there is any other questions.
I don't see any more coming in, and we are over time.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jennifer, and everybody for your insights also here.